Hi, everyone. So we're down to our last talk, and I'm excited to announce that Hadi, one of the co-founders from Code.org, is speaking. Code.org, if you guys are not familiar, is the organization behind the Hour of Code. Right? Did I get it right? Okay. Where they are encouraging high school students everywhere to try computer science and try to get it into the curriculum officially as a form of science. So without any further ado, Hadi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I have a number of slides I wanted to share with you. Code.org is probably best known in the tech industry for this video that we came out with, which actually we launched with about a year and a half ago. It was a video featuring Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and a handful of other people in the tech industry talking about the importance of learning computer science. And I made that video as a personal hobby, just thinking, this needs to exist somewhere. Somebody should create a video to basically encourage students and inspire them to get into computer science. And I didn't have any plans of creating a bigger organization when I made that, but the response to the video was so extreme that I spent a lot more time and the last year and a half basically researching the problem and also building a whole organization to solve the problem. And the problem we're trying to solve is basically to tap into this giant untapped opportunity, which is computer science. This slide that I'm going to show you is probably the single most impactful thing in terms of the research I did before we started Code.org, and it shows the gap between jobs and students in computer science. So this chart that you see here talks about all math and science learning in the United States. And this is not all learning, it's just math and science, because we hear a lot about how the United States is behind in STEM and in math and sciences and so on. Within all of math and science, 2% is spent on computer science in schools. If you now look at the job market within math and sciences, 60% of all new jobs in the math and sciences are for computer scientists and for computing jobs. And there's this gigantic mismatch where the industry, whether it's the tech industry, which eats up at least a third of those jobs, banking, retail, government, transportation, telecommunication, entertainment, food, every industry is basically looking for people who have software skills and computing skills, whereas our education system is completely unprepared to get students into these types of jobs. In a time of still kind of economic doldrums worldwide, but especially in this country, if you look at the job opportunity, the growth in jobs projected in computing fields versus the students in these fields, the graduates that are projected, just looking at the government's own data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the National Science Foundation, there's roughly 100,000 more jobs each year than there are students in this field, and that adds up to about 1 million jobs over 10 years, and the salaries add up to about $500 billion worth of economic opportunity that, as a country, we're not tapping into. And I looked at these stats from a US standpoint, but the similar kind of thing exists in every single state of this country and in every single developed country worldwide as well. Now, one thing that's unusual is that this is not sort of this problem that is naturally solving itself. In fact, computer science majors now number less than they were 10 years ago, and half as many as a percentage are women now than there were 10 years ago. So the stats in this field are basically getting worse. There's fewer students studying the field, there's fewer schools teaching it, and there's a shrinking percentage of women studying the field. Now this, you can see the chart here ends in 2012, which is the year Code.org was founded, so the more recent numbers look better. But the other most extreme thing to look at is in the high school level, the advanced placement course in computer science, which is the bottom right bar in this graph. This graph shows history, English, science, math, social sciences, and in the far right, computer science is one of the least studied courses at the advanced placement level. And the reason it's so barely studied is it's because it's only available in 5% of high schools. And of that tiny slice, only 15% traditionally are girls, and only 8% are African Americans and Hispanics, which is a very, very small percentage of an already small slice of the pie. And people also ask me, well, why did you put computer science over there? Why don't you put it in the math bucket or in the science bucket? And that's because actually that's what our education system does. This field is not categorized as part of the core math and science, which is part of what we're trying to solve. So now, I spent a bunch of time talking about the jobs and the economic opportunity, and those of you coming to a conference like this are obviously well aware of the economic opportunity in computer science in these jobs being the best paying jobs in the world. People don't need to know that. But what's important is that this isn't just about getting a job in technology. These days, technology affects every single field. It started 20-something years ago with personal computers, and becoming a computer scientist meant learning how to program a computer to write software that runs on a computer. But now with smartphones, technology is affecting all sorts of things. It's affecting medicine. It's affecting energy with things like smart thermostats. It's affecting space exploration. Entertainment is increasingly dependent on software. Transportation with things like Uber. And then really far out stuff like contact lenses that have computers inside them. So no matter what field somebody wants to get into in the 21st century, having no knowledge of how technology works is increasingly going to be a huge liability, and it's going to basically make it harder for them to be relevant in the 21st century workforce. In fact, this chart shows a graph of basically the types of skills that jobs increasingly need, and the highest, most demanded need is basically the ability to do problem solving and complex data analysis, and these are the types of things that computer science teaches people. Since Code.org got started based on a tradition of video, I also want to show a short video that basically, in the words of somebody from literally 20 years ago, saying the importance of teaching this field to all students. One of my favorite videos.
I think everybody in this country should learn how to program a computer, should learn a computer language, because it teaches you how to think. And so I view computer science as a liberal art. It should be something that everybody takes a year in their life. One of the courses they take is learning how to program.
So I obviously agree with So I obviously agree with what Steve Jobs just said there. But what's sad is there's fewer schools teaching this field now than when he said that 20 years ago. Fewer students graduating in the field, and fewer women as a percentage even in it. Oops, sorry. The other difficult thing is our state laws make it harder. In 27 out of 50 states, computer science doesn't even count towards high school graduation requirements. So in the state of California, the mecca of technology, if your kid took AP college-level computer science in high school, it doesn't count towards them entering college. It doesn't count towards them graduating from high school. Now, everything I said so far is mostly bad news, but the actual reality is over the last 2 years, we've had an enormous amount of impact on solving this problem. So in particular, this graph as an example right now, it says in 27 states think this doesn't count. When I started this 18 months ago, it was in 40 states it didn't count. So we've actually managed to get 13 states' laws changed just in the last 15 months. The California governor is expected to sign a bill within the next 2-3 weeks, changing California from one of the sort of bad states on this map to one of the good states. And in fact, we've basically found people everywhere throughout this country basically rushing to basically improve to solve this problem. It's a problem that everybody gets behind because, education helps everybody, kids, technology, and then there's really no losers in this. Our vision is that every school should teach computer science and that every student should have at least the opportunity to learn computer science. To give you a sense of what Code.org has been doing to basically address this, I'll summarize what we did in our very first year of work, and we're basically a 1-year-old organization. We produced a viral video that ended up becoming #1 on YouTube. We've built a coalition of over 100 companies across tech companies, nonprofits, and the government to solve this problem. We've now changed policies in 15 different states, with actually 4 on deck: New York, New Jersey, California, and Nevada. We've built 80 hours worth of coursework and tutorials aimed at elementary schools and middle schools in 30 languages. We've had 40 million students try 1 hour of code and get basically introduced to this field. And then based off that first hour, we've had 30,000 teachers implement our online courses, reaching now 1.5 million students who basically are learning computer science. By contrast, that's 30,000 students. The high school AP course is taught in 3,000 schools. So this online course that has basically been launched less than a year ago is already 10 times larger than the AP computer science course. And then lastly, we've partnered with 30 school districts to add computer science to the full curriculum being taught in every single school. and that includes 4 of the top 6 school districts in the country. So New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Broward County in Florida are all going to be adding computer science to every one of their schools. The thing I want everybody here's help with is the campaign that we started last year in December, and that has turned into a year-round campaign that's going to be culminating in this December, which is the Hour of Code. This chart was actually just taken a few days ago before this conference, so we've already had a few 100,000 more students try the Hour of Code. We're now at 41.5 million students who've done this 1-hour tutorial. It is an amazing number in terms of something for anything to achieve, and this wasn't our work alone, it was our work with the help of many, many organizations. We launched the Hour of Code with a speech by the president on the homepage of Google, with all these celebrities, and even inside the App Store and inside every single Apple store. And that was during a 1-week period, but we're now at the point where literally every second 1 kid starts the Hour of Code right now. So in the time I've been talking, we've had roughly 600 kids do the Hour of Code, or at least start doing their Hour of Code. And this campaign was literally the fastest thing to reach 15 million users in technology. If you look, Tumblr took 3.5 years to reach 15 million kids. Instagram took 14 months to reach 15 million kids. The Hour of Code took literally 5 days to get there. And most importantly, it drove a huge amount of participation by girls. So we had in 1 week more girls trying computer science in US schools than the sum of the entire history of computer science and computer technology. So there's a number of reasons why this succeeded, but the biggest reasons are because we made really fun online tutorials. We kind of proved that the holy grail of blended learning, that learning can feel like a game. And teachers' lives become much easier when teaching involves kind of putting kids in front of what feels like a game to them. This quote comes from a middle school teacher who actually didn't want to do the Hour of Code and then got convinced by other teachers saying, I finally tried this, and I have to say I've never ever seen my kids so engaged and so excited about learning as I saw them today. And this is a really important thing to note because school, if you remember, is like about memorizing math and then memorizing the capitals and then memorizing the date that somebody went to this other place. And it's generally boring. Kids don't come home from school saying, look at the math equation I proved today. They don't show each other, did you see my creative proof to the Pythagorean theorem? But if they can create something, that's something they actually want to show each other. The art that they draw in art class, they want to show each other. And if they can make an app in computer science class, they can show it to each other. And computer science is one of the only fields that is at this intersection between the analytical skills we want kids to learn in school and math class and the creative skills that they kind of are more drawn to. And then lastly, our tutorials are all web-based, so they work on any device and any tablet and so on. And trying to get things into schools, one of the biggest obstacles is the IT department. Because if you need to install something, a teacher can't do that. They need to call somebody from the IT department who then says you can't do that, and then the firewall and all this stuff. And so we've made it so that our stuff works on any device, even phones, tablets, old browsers, new browsers, et cetera. So if you want to help the work we're doing, please save the date for the Hour of Code for 2014. December 8th through 14th is the official Computer Science Education Week. We've now had already 1 out of every 3 students in this country participate in this. Our goal is to get to 100 million students, which frankly this country isn't big enough to reach 100 million students. There's only 50 million students in the United States, so we're spreading this to be a global campaign. And we want every single school to participate, including non-school participants as well. So those of you who are in companies, obviously, consider asking your manager or your CEO to tell the non-technical employees at the company to do an Hour of Code. And that alone will help spread the word about this field that we need to get into all schools. Now, the Hour of Code isn't the only thing we do. When we go beyond 1 hour, we have these short courses for elementary and middle schools, which are online courses, and then any school district can participate. We're basically launching this national network of workshops tomorrow, where basically in any city in this country, an elementary school teacher can go to a teacher training workshop to learn how to teach these courses. Students love fun and creativity, and we've basically built a platform where they can build games like Flappy Bird in 5 minutes. And the coding sort of language that we use is drag and drop. So to build a game like Flappy Bird, you find the when click block and then drag the flap block to it. You don't need to learn all the sort of stuff that you need to do in Xcode or in JavaScript that makes things harder once you're sort of at the real professional level. But it still teaches you how to match events to event handlers and how to build loops and conditionals. And kids can build things like this, cool art with as little as dragging 6 or 7 blocks together, and then still create something that they can be proud of and share with their friends and so on. Going beyond 1 hour at the high school level, as I mentioned, we're partnering with districts and trying to train teachers to actually establish full computer science courses in those districts. And we're currently in New York, Chicago, Florida, Massachusetts, all these different districts in the country are basically teaching computer science with our work. I had a slide I wanted to skip, but I want to actually show you guys a quick demo of how our tutorials work. I have a quick question. How many people have already seen Code.org's online tutorials or coding exercises? So a handful. I'm going to show real briefly what they look like, because if you are yourself a computer scientist but don't know how to taught in schools, it's worth checking this out. So this is basically our online course, and I'm going to show you 2 things. One is how you create a simple drawing, where we have this little artist guy, and here is his code that says, when run, repeat 2 times, move forward, turn right, move forward, turn right, and you can run his code. And it does that, but you're trying to get it to do all of these things. So you can put a repeat command and nest these loops inside each other and say repeat, 5 times, and then reset this. Oops. And it's repeating that block multiple times, which again doesn't work, so then you need to figure out that you need to turn right in between these things. And then as a kid, you can start guessing what's the right amount to turn. So that was the right guess, but I'm not repeating it enough times. But basically, this is a little bit of trial and error, but as you're doing this, the error messages are slow because of the slow internet here. And so we finally successfully finished 1 puzzle in a course sequence. And you can also see the code. This actually shows this is the JavaScript code that matches the blocks you just wrote. So, and every time a kid solves one of these puzzles, we also show them, here's the JavaScript code for the code you wrote. And that basically gives you a simple example of how our courses basically engage kids. It's not typing code. You don't need to learn about the semicolons or the parentheses. Many of our levels feature things like the Angry Birds or Plants vs. Zombies, and those of you who have kids know that these iPad games are super addictive to kids, so they're writing the code to get a little Angry Bird through a maze. It basically teaches the concepts of for loops, conditionals, functions, variables, all in a way that doesn't involve sort of the drudgery of learning where the semicolons and the curly braces and things. I wanted to basically also mention some of the problems we have to deal with. Whenever we deal with schools, there's 4 very common problems schools and teachers tell us. One is that they say we're struggling enough with basic math and reading. If we're going to add something to the curriculum, what do we remove? Isn't this too hard for my students? And then also, why does everybody need to learn to code? And I would love to get any of you to, if you have children, to go to your school teacher and try to get them to adopt the hour of code for 1 hour in their classroom. They don't need to do anything more than 1 hour. And if you run into any of these questions, the answers for them are, first of all, computer science helps reinforce math. So if kids are having trouble with math, learning anything on a computer will get them to think logically and help with that. If you introduce something for 1 hour, you don't need to remove anything else. And then again, if you try it for 1 hour, teachers will very quickly realize that the 1 hour lesson is something that any teacher can teach, and even 7-year-olds can learn. And then lastly, our goal isn't to try to get everybody in the country or everybody in the world to learn to code. Our goal is to get every school to at least offer it as an option. We think it's un-American that in today's world, with the income disparity that is increasing, 90% of schools don't teach the course that leads to the best paying jobs in the country. So at least getting every school to offer a course and then letting students that want it have the option to learn it, to us seems just, a civil rights issue in this day and age. The other way you can help us is to help make computer science more cool. And I personally believe cool is what we make it. That over there is a picture of Ashton Kutcher, who basically participated in our hour of code, and he tried the tutorials himself. We found that on People magazine, surprisingly, 6 months later, after we'd interviewed him, he's wearing his code.org hat, for no reason, walking around with his wife. So you can't buy publicity like that, and it's obviously cool enough to do it. So if you're interested in our hats, visit code.org and look for the little t-shirt symbol, and you can buy hats and t-shirts, and we don't make profits when you buy that stuff. The reason we sell it is for people to wear them, for people to just get the sense that computer science and coding is more cool. I want to close with a very short video, and then we'll move to the keynotes. This short video is the sort of kickoff for the Hour of Code campaign for this December. And it's just to get you excited and motivated to go to your schools and ask your teachers to host the Hour of Code this December.
This is so cool!
I mean, your teacher says you guys are into it.
We are. It's very awesome.
Code.org has partnered with 30 public school districts across the country, including New York, Chicago, and Denver, to provide lessons and teacher training and writing.
The largest education events in history.
7 million students worldwide.
This week, I'm proud to join the students, teachers, businesses, and nonprofit organizations taking new steps to support computer science in America's schools.
They've been so excited about it.
I ran an hour of code. It's easy to do.
Every district should do, every district can do it.
I'm actually seeing the kids in elementary school start coding, and this is amazing.
Our job is to bring this into schools. Our goal in life is to make sure that every student in every school has the chance to learn.
And my school's doing it.
Oops. All right, thank you very much for your time.